सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतः चार्थेष्वभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयः यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय यं प्रव्रजन्तमनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुः तं सर्वभूतहृदयं नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्. Yes. So before starting the class, Bhagavatam class, we will chant this. The first verse is Satyam Param Dhimahi. I meditate upon Param Satyam, supreme truth. This is the first verse in the first canto. This is how Bhagavatam starts. How many verses are there in Bhagavatam? 18,000? Yes, 18,000 verses. Remember, Bhagavad Gita has only 700. This is Purana. Everything is elaborate. So, Satyam Param Dhimahi. I meditate upon that supreme truth. And which is that supreme truth is what is given. Janmadhyasya yatonvayaditaratah, etc. Which is the essence of Vedant. What is the essence of Vedant? Essence of Vedant is that supreme truth is you, no one else. The essence of Vedanta is this world is an illusion, God alone is real, and that God is you. So in the first verse itself, there is no mention of Krishna or Vasudeva or anything. What is the mention? Param Satyam, supreme truth, which is the self. So this is how we start. So then we prostrate unto all the teachers. The Guru Parampara prostration is what is mentioned. First, Sri Krishna, which is the second verse, who is Satchidananda, Vishwa Utpatti Adi, who is the cause of the creation, sustenance and dissolution of this world. Tapatraya Vinashaya, who is the destroyer of Tapatraya. Adi Daivika, Adi Bhautika, Adhyatmika. The obstructions from the sources unknown, the obstructions from the sources known, the obstructions from the sources within. Obstructions or sorrows, tapa. So to that Supreme Lord, my prostration. And then, who is the one who has given Bhagavatam? This knowledge has been given by Shuka Brahma Rishi to Parikshit, king. So these stories, etc., they come in the first canto, first and second. So then the next prostration is to Shuka Brahma Rishi. So the third verse. So what does that verse say? Yam pravrajantam anupetam apeta krityam. So it is said that the moment Shuka Brahma Rishi was born, it is said he remained in the mother's womb for 12 years. He did not come out. So Shuka Brahma Rishi is the son of Vedavyasa Rishi. So Vedavyasa Rishi was wondering why this fellow is not coming out. So then this fellow from inside the stomach, he said, I am scared of Bhagavan's Maya, this samsar, so I will not come out. So ultimately Bhagavan said, you don't have to worry, my grace and protection will always be there with you, you will never be caught up in the samsar. So after getting that promise, he came out. And the moment he came out, without even waiting for that yajnopavita samskar, etc., he started walking away. That was his, what you call, the amount of dispassion, amount of his love for God, amount of absorption in the self. He was a Mahayogi even inside the womb itself. Shuka Brahma Rishi. So it is said the moment he was born and he was able to walk, he just left his father, mother, etc. He just started walking away. And Vedavyasa Rishi started running after him because Vedavyasa Rishi was attached to his son. Dvaipayano virahakatara. Out of the pang of separation, Vedavyasa Rishi started running after this boy. Hey Putra, oh my son, don't leave us. And then what happened? Putreti tanmayata taravaha abhineduhu. So he was walking along the forest, and it is said the trees responded because this Shuka Brahma Rishi had become so one with the entire universe that instead of he responding, the tree started responding. And what did the tree say? He has become one with all of us. So tam sarva bhuta hridayam munim. That Muni who is residing in the heart of all as the very same self, that Muni, he has become the very self in us. Anatosmi, I prostrate. So prostration to the teacher. Then whom Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam. Rishi Narayana and Nara. Nara Narayana Rishi. Our prostration. Devim Saraswatim. Prostration unto Saraswati Devi. Vyasam. Prostration unto Vyasa Maharshi, who has compiled this, who has brought out. Tato Jayamudirayet. It is said, then after prostrating to all these great Mahatmas, Bhagavan, then only we must start Bhagavatam. Okay, so this is the brief meaning. Now, what is the greatness of Bhagavatam? Why is it important to study Bhagavatam? What is the purpose with which Vyasa Rishi has written this? So the story goes that one day Vyasa Maharshi was very much disturbed. Dwapara Yuga. So this story comes in first canto. So he was sitting near Saraswati river and he was a Trikala Jnani. Trikala Jnani means he could see the past, he could see the present, and he could see the future also. Everything was very clear to him. He was Kalavatara of Bhagavan, Avatara himself. So one day he was very much disturbed. And the cause of the disturbance was, he was very clearly seeing what is going to happen in Kali Yuga, which is this Yuga. He was very clearly seeing what kind of people are going to be born, how they are going to lead their life. So in one verse, he describes the people who are born in Kali Yuga. Mandaha, Mandamatayaha, Mandabhagyaha, Upadrutaha. This is how he has defined the people who are going to be born in Kali Yuga. Intelligence, very poor. Memory, very poor. Lifespan, very small. Distracted by so many things. No faith in God. Very unlucky, unfortunate ones with lot of diseases. This is the kind of people who are going to be born in Kali Yuga. This Rishi could see everything. In fact, there is a description also. How the people will live in Kali Yuga. At present, I am not going into all that. So therefore, this Rishi was seeing that, and look at the compassion of the Rishi. His heart melted. So what should I do for such people? So therefore, first what he did was, the Vedas were lying here and there. He compiled all of them and made it into 4. So look at the memory power of those Shishyas in those times. They were able to remember the entire Vedas in their memory. That is why it is called Shruti. Shruti means that which is learned by listening only. There is no pen, paper, etc. No recording system also. They used to record it in their memory. That was their sharpness. So then he thought, at least they may not be able to remember the whole Veda. So let me divide it into 4. So he divided the Vedas into 4. What are they? Rig, Yajur, Sama, Atharva. At least one part, 1/4, they may be able to remember. So therefore his 4 Shishyas were there. So each Rishi, he taught one particular Veda. So he said, you master this particular branch. That is enough. And then spread it unto your Shishyas. That much is enough. But then again he was not satisfied. He felt, no. Kali Yuga people, it's difficult for them to remember 1/4 of Veda. Even one sloka is difficult for them. So therefore he was very much distressed. So then he wrote, and not only that, in those times, ladies were not supposed to chant Veda and all. Veda mantra, that freedom was not given to them. Chanting Veda mantras, etc. So therefore he felt that no, everyone should be given this opportunity to learn the scriptures. So therefore he wrote Mahabharatam. Mahabharatam. Mahabharatam contains how many verses? 1 lakh. 1 lakh verses. Too huge. And it contained details regarding dharma and adharma, etc. In between, I think he has written Brahma Sutra also. That also did not give him satisfaction because that was too tough. It is meant for highly advanced seekers. So he was not satisfied with Brahma Sutra, with Mahabharata, with all this compiling Vedas and all. So one day he was sitting very disturbed. So then at that time, Narad Rishi comes. So by the very look of the face, Narad ji understood that Vyasa Rishi is not happy. There is something which is disturbing him. So he asked, Maharshi, what happened? So Vyasa Rishi said, I myself don't know what has happened. You look into my heart and tell. Because you are, you are a great Mahatma, great Bhakta. So please look into my heart and tell me where I am going wrong. So then again, Narad Rishi went into Samadhi, went into the heart with the permission of Vyasa Rishi. And then he found that, what did he find? He found and he said, Vyasa Rishi, you have written Mahabharata, this, that, etc. Everything is fine. But something which a common man can understand, something which a common man can practice, that you have not done. And that is, you have not included bhakti. Your literature, etc., when we read, yes, dharma, etc. is there. But love for God doesn't arise. It is too much of logic. Heart doesn't melt when your compositions are read. So write something which common man can understand. Write something where love for God becomes very intense. Because this one is the easiest mean to achieve God. Bhakti. So do something, write a composition by which a common man also can reach God through the path of devotion. So write such stories of God, such leelas of God. You can do it, O Rishi. You can just go back, go into Samadhi and remember all those leelas which Bhagavan has done in the past. Remember all of them and write it down. Those leelas of Bhagavan is such that even by listening, the mind gets purified. So therefore, Vyasa Rishi, this is what you have to do. Put everything in the story form. All whatever the philosophies are there, put it in the story form. And story is one thing which everyone would love to hear. Whether he's an old man or a youngster or a child, everyone would love to hear story. Yes or no? Yes. Philosophy is not that easy. Sometimes it becomes dry. But story is something which everyone would love. So do one thing, write down the Leelas of Bhagwan and in between put the pill of philosophy. Just like a mother does. What does the mother do? Suppose there is a very bitter pill and the child is refusing to take. The child is sick. So what will the mother do? Mother will put the pill inside a laddu and give the laddu. Now the child will eat the laddu. In the process, the pill also goes inside, isn't it? This is exactly what Srimad Bhagavatam does. It contains hooking stories. And as you are listening to story, your mind is focused on the story, and in the process, Veda Vyasa Rishi puts the pill of devotion, of dispassion, of knowledge, etc. But unfortunately, what has happened nowadays is all these Bhagavata Saptaham, etc., they focus only on the story part, and the pill is removed. Only laddu is given, pill is removed. Why pill is removed? Because pill is little bitter and difficult to understand. 18,000 verses, can you cover in 7 days? Say 4 hours per day. Can you cover it in 7 days? Impossible. So therefore what we are trying to do is, we are not trying to do that Bhagavata Saptaham type, where only skimming is done. No. Only superficial stories are told and left. No. We will go into the philosophy. We will discuss those philosophy. So this chapter which we are going to handle, it is the life and teachings of Prahlad. I am sure stories you must be knowing, Prahlad. But the philosophy part, no one knows. Because never it is discussed. We will take this part in detail. The story of Prahlada, Hiranyakashipu and Bhagavan's avatara, and what kind of advice Prahlada gave to his fellow friends. All those teachings and philosophies which is in line with Bhagavad Gita, which is in line with the Upanishads. This is what we will discuss in the coming days. So this is the theme. Okay? Yes. So this comes in the 7th canto. There are 12 cantos in Bhagavatam. We are taking this portion from the 7th canto. Yes. So now there is a conversation between Yudhishthira and Narada Rishi. Main conversation is between Shuka Maharshi and Parikshit. In that, another conversation comes. And that conversation is between Yudhishthira and Narada Rishi. Now Yudhishthira asks a question. What is the question?
Aho atyadbhutam hetat durlabhaikantinamapi vasudeve pare tatve praptischedasya vidvishah yetat veditumichhamah sarva eva vayam mune bhagavan nindaya venah dvijaitamasi patitah.
What is the question? Oh Narada Rishi, one thing I am not able to understand. This Shishupala and Dantavakra, they were abusing all through their life, they were abusing Bhagavan and they became one with Bhagavan. In their life, they only hated Bhagavan, abused him, used all kinds of bad words, even from their childhood. As infants do this lisping, you know. That lisping itself was abusing Bhagavan. That is how they grew up. Dantavakra and Shishupala. So the greatest of wonder is they became one with God. Instead of going to hell, or instead of having some kind of disease like white leprosy, etc., they directly became one with God. Others were all watching in the assembly, in the Rajasuya Yajna time, this happened. Yudhishthira was performing Rajasuya Yajna, and this Shishupala, Dantavakra they were abusing Bhagwan, and ultimately Bhagwan killed them. And the greatest thing is that what you call Jyoti went and merged with Bhagwan. Everyone was astonished. So now Yudhishthira's question is, Bhagwan, this I am not able to understand. Someone is hating Bhagwan, abusing Bhagwan, and he becomes one with Bhagwan, which is so difficult even for bhaktas. Even for great yogis it is so difficult, and these two fellows have done it. On the other hand, there is another person called Vena. Vena is a king. He was a king. That story also comes here. He was also hating Bhagwan, but he went to hell. So Bhagwan, I am not able to understand this. O Rishi, please, my mind is totally puzzled. Will you please clarify this? This is the question. Have you understood the question? Yes. So what does Bhagwan Naradji say?
Nindanastava satkara nyakarartham kalevaram pradhana parayo rajan avivekena kalpitam himsa tadabhimanena dandaparushyayoryatha vaishamyamiha bhutanam mamahamiti parthiva.
O Yudhishthira, your fundamentals have to be clear. What is the fundamentals? See, point number 1. Remember, Bhagwan doesn't get angry when someone abuses him, nor he becomes very happy when someone praises him. He is free from honor and dishonor, praise or curse. Why is it so? Now the answer is given here. Pradhana parayoho avivekena kalpitam. A person feels happy, elated or depressed according to the honor or dishonor only when he is identified with Prakriti. Prakriti means what? Body, mind, intellect. When a person is attached to his body, mind, intellect, he will feel elated when praised, he will feel depressed when criticized. As far as Bhagwan is concerned, there is no identification. So he may come in the form of a body, in the body he may come, but there is no identification. So when someone abuses him, he doesn't feel bad. So your logic that yes, if someone abuses, he has to go to hell, if someone praises, he has to go to heaven, this logic doesn't hold good. Then which logic holds good? The logic is this: whatever a person continuously, intensely thinks, he becomes that. This is the logic. Whatever a person thinks, attitude doesn't matter. With what attitude he thinks doesn't matter. Is he thinking something continuously, intensely, with full focus, with all concentration, then he will become that object. This is the law of the universe. So now, Shishupala and Dantavakra, they were able to fully focus their mind upon Lord. So therefore they became one with the Lord. Therefore, what should be done? Tasmad vairānubandhena nirvairena bhayena va snehat kamena va yunjat kathanchinekshate prithak. So it doesn't matter with what attitude you meditate upon Lord. It can be vairānubandhena, inimical relationship, or nirvairena, friendly relationship, bhayena, out of fear, snehat, out of love, kamena, out of lust, yunjyat, you fix your mind upon the Lord. It doesn't matter with what attitude you do. What is important is na kathanchit na ikshate pratak. Once you have focused your mind upon the Lord, your mind should not wander here and there. There should not be any other object of concentration other than Lord. If you can achieve this, attitude doesn't matter, you will become one with God. As a person thinks, so he becomes. This is the logic. So he gives an example. Kitaf peshas krutaruddha kudyayam tamanusmaran
संरम्भभययोगेन विन्दते तत्स्वरूपताम्.
A very famous example. What is the example? Wasp and the worm example. So here is this wasp. You would have seen this wasp in the wall and all that. So in some hole, it puts the worm inside. So it finds a hole and fills it with mud, and then it brings a worm and puts that worm inside. In such a way that the worm cannot see anything else. It is placed exactly into that hole. The worm has to look out. And this wasp, what will the wasp do? The wasp will directly sit at the entrance and start staring at this worm. Now the worm also has to stare at this wasp. And it is said that the moment, because of some reason, the worm looks here or there, the wasp gives a stink. It stings. And it is so painful. So again, this worm starts looking at the wasp. So day and night, this is what is happening. Sambrambha bhaya yogena. Out of fear it is looking. Because if it looks here or there, definitely the wasp is going to sting. So out of fear, but out of anger, but helplessly, it keeps looking at the wasp, and it is said, after a few days, this worm becomes the wasp. Continuous meditation, day and night meditation, the worm becomes a wasp. In the same way, this law applies to us also. So it doesn't matter which attitude you take.
कामाद्वेषाद् भयात् स्नेहात् यथा भक्तेश्वरे मनः आवेश्य तदगं हित्वा बहवस्तद्गतिं गताः.
Many people have become one with the Lord. Various reasons, with various attitudes, they have meditated upon the Lord. Kamat, out of lust. Dveshat, out of hatred. Bhayat, out of fear. Snehat, out of love. Bhaktya, out of devotion. Oh Rishi, can you give some example? Of course, yes.
गोप्यः कामाद् भयात् कंसः द्वेषाच्चैद्यादयो नृपाः सम्बन्धात् वृष्णय स्नेहाद् यूयं भक्त्या वयं विभो.
Of course, I will give example. Gopyah kamat. All these gopis, they became one with the Lord. What was the attitude? Or what you call relationship? Kamaha, lust. Gopyah kamat, bhayat kamsaha. Kamsa out of bhaya, fear. Dveshat chedi adayaha. Chedi means this Shishupala, Dantavakra. Dveshat, out of hatred. Sambandhat vrishnayah. Sambandhat means family relationship. Vrishnayah means Yadukula Vamshis. Those Yadavas, they became one with the Lord because of their relationship. Snehad Yuyam. Yuyam means Yudhishthira, Pandava. Out of love, you. Bhaktya Vayam. And we out of devotion. So any relationship you can maintain, but what is the condition? The condition is mind has to be 100% focused upon the Lord. But then Bhagavan, why this Vena, Raja Ven? Why he went to hell, though he hated Bhagavan? There is one reason. Katamopi na Vena syad panchanam purusham prati. But Vena did not practice any of this. He was just hating Bhagavan, that's all. There was no focus, there was no concentration. He was abusing, no doubt, but there was no intensity. There was a kind of indifference. We sometimes hate people and we become indifferent, isn't it? We don't continuously think about that person. So this way he did that, therefore he went to hell. So what is the essence? Essence is tasmat kenapi upayena manah krishne niveshaye. This is the point. Kenapi upayena, by whatever the means. Manah krishne niveshayet. Invest your mind in Krishna. Focus your mind in Krishna. And Yudhishthira, another reason why this Shishupala and Dantavaktra, they merged with God. You know who they were? They were actually Jaya and Vijaya, the attendants of Vishnu in Vishnu Loka. Because of some curse from some rishis, they actually were born as Shishupala and Dantavakra. Then suddenly Yudhishthira asked, "Oh Narad Rishi, please tell that story to me. How exactly that happened?" Such devotees of the Lord, that too staying in Vaikuntha, getting curse from rishis, it is something unbelievable. Because to reach Vaikuntha itself, that means you are really highly advanced spiritually. And getting curse from rishis there, will you please explain? So, in brief, it is mentioned. Actually, this story comes in the third canto. So, what is that? So, once upon a time, the Sanakadi rishis,
एकदा ब्रह्मणः पुत्राः विष्णोर्लोकं यदृच्छया सनन्दनादयो जग्मुः चरन्तो भुवनत्रयम्.
so these four Sanakadi rishis, who are they?
Sanaka, Sanandana,
Sanatana, Sanat Kumara. These are the four mind born sons of Brahmaji. Purvesham api Purvajaha. Ancient than the most ancient. But how do they roam around? They roam around in the body of 5 to 6-year-old child's body. Totally naked. So these are great rishis. But how do they roam around? In the body of small children. 5 to 6-year-old children. Totally naked. So they keep roaming around. All the three worlds they roam. So one day they thought, let us go and visit Vishnu. So they entered into Vaikuntha. And when they entered, there were this Jaya and Vijaya, two, what you call, gatekeepers, attenders. So this Jaya Vijaya, they did not know who these four children were. They thought maybe some. So therefore they stopped. They ridiculed, they abused them, and they tried to chase them away. And when they tried to chase them away, these boys, who are none other than the great rishis, they cursed them. How did they curse?
अशपन् कुपिता एवं युवां वासं न चार्हतः रजस्तमोभ्यां रहिते पादमूले मधुद्विषः.
Both of you don't deserve to remain at the lotus feet of the Lord. This way they said, those rishis. How is it that you people filled with rajas and tamas come to this world of sattva? Remaining at the feet of the Lord means you must be really sattvic. But you people behave like a tamasic person, rajasic person, like an asura you behave. So therefore, be born in the asuric wombs. Like this, they cursed. And then these Jaya Vijaya understood how great these people were. They are not mere children. They are great rishis. So then they pleaded for mercy. And these rishis, very compassionate, they said, okay, after 3 births in the asuric wombs, you will come back. So what are the 3 births? The first one is Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu. Second one, Ravana Kumbhakarna. Third one, Shishupala Dantavakra. So then, Narad Rishi in brief mentioned. So when they were born as Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, Bhagavan himself came in order to relieve them from that birth. So Hiranyaksha was killed by Bhagavan in the incarnation of boar, isn't it? Varahavatar. So he killed Hiranyaksha. Hiranyakashipu was killed by Narasimha, which is the story which is going to come. So then here, Narad Rishi makes a mention. Hiranyakashipu had a wonderful son, a divine child called Prahalada, filled with all noble virtues, who would see everyone as himself. And then his father Hiranyakashipu tried to kill him. And then Bhagavan killed Hiranyakashipu. And in the third, Ravana Kumbhakarna was killed by Bhagavan in his Ramavatar. And now this Shishupala Dantavakra has been killed by Krishna Avatar. So suddenly Yudhishthira said, Bhagavan, that I am not able to believe. That such a divine child and his own father is going to kill him. Please discuss in detail. So thus we enter into this detailed story of Prahalad.
भ्रातर्येवं विनिहते हरिणा क्रोडमूर्तिना हिरण्यकशिपो राजन् पर्यतप्यदृशाशु च आह चेदं वृषा घूर्णः सन्दष्टदशनच्छदः कोपोज्ज्वलाभ्यां चक्षुर्भ्यां निरीक्षन् धूम्रमम्बरम्. Yes, now the story begins. So Hiranyaksha has been killed by Bhagavan in his Varaha avatar, and now his brother Hiranyakashipu became very angry because he loved his brother so much. It was almost like he could not live without his brother. And when he heard this news that his brother has been killed, so how did he behave? Rusha Ghurnaha, his whole body was trembling with anger. Paryatapyat Rusha Shucha, out of sorrow, out of anger, he was literally boiling. Sandashta Dashanachadaha, he started biting his lips with his teeth. Kopojjalabhyam Chakshurbhyam, his eyes started radiating fire. Karala Damstrogra Drishtya Dushpreksha Bhrukuti Mukaha. See the beauty of Sanskrit. Karala Damstra. Damstra means the two teeth here, no? This lion, tigers, etc. you find it. So Asuras also have this. That is called Damstra. Now this term is going to come again and again. So remember this. In English it is called fangs. Fang. Dushpreksha. His face, no one could even look at him because that was the kind of anger he was exhibiting. Bhrukuti Mukhaha. His eyebrows were quivering. Shula Mudyamya Sadasi Danavan Idam Abravit. He took his Shula. Shula means trident. And then he spoke to Danava. What did he speak? Let us see tomorrow. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pasyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhave Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.